Alright, good afternoon guys, and welcome to another TA update. It's just coming up to 2 p.m. here in the UK, and today it's the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and it's the 3rd of June 2022. So I'm just going to do the usual checks just to make sure that everything's working fine. The audio is working, and it seems like the video is working too. So let's just crack on. And we start with the we'll start with the traditional finance and the stocks heat map, and you can see that the great majority of it is in the green. A few here on health technology are in the red, but you know, a little bit of a mixed bag. But yeah, the great majority is in the green, which is interesting to see. With the cryptocurrency heat map, the great majority of it is in the red, of course, no surprise there. A few outliers there with ICP in the double digits in the green, but the great majority of it, as you can see here, is in the red. So let's go back to the traditional finance. Let's have a look at the calendar. Today is Friday the 3rd of June, like I said, and we've got right about now the average hourly earnings and the non-farm employment change, and the unemployment rate's coming straight after. So these are all figures that could cause some volatility into the markets. Also, there's a lack of liquidity on the London session because it is the Queen's Jubilee and it's a bank holiday weekend. So as a result, there's going to be less liquidity in the books, and therefore that's why we've seen a little bit of volatility start of the day, and it'll probably continue throughout the day with these meetings happening today. Okay, so let's move on quickly. I'm going to move on to the S&P Bitcoin correlation chart, and you can see here the S&P is in blue, Bitcoin is in orange, of course, and you can see that the correlation is still very much alive, even though people are saying that it's not. You know, there are a few discrepancies. As you can see here, the price rallied quite a lot on the S&P, and it didn't do so on Bitcoin. Okay, and by the time Bitcoin rallied, you can see that there was a bit of a lead going on there, so actually a little bit of a delay on Bitcoin in doing so. But when it comes to coming to the downside, then it's still very much correlated, right? So upside, it looks like the S&P is leading, with Bitcoin following through a fraction, really, not really that much. But when it comes to the downside, the S&P and Bitcoin are still very much in sync, as you can see here from the current price action, right? So this is a 4-hour chart, but you can see that it's really, really clear. Of course, here on the S&P, you can see that actually we almost did some equal highs here, and there was no equal highs on Bitcoin. And this tells you that basically the risk money that is still in play is playing on the S&P and not so much on Bitcoin. So there's not much of an appetite to be buying Bitcoin, even though there is a close correlation. But when it comes to selling, there's definitely a closer correlation, and people are still looking, whoever it is, institutional money, the dealers or even the whales, are still looking at the S&P for potential downsiders. You know, the fear is still pretty much ruling in the markets. Okay, so not so much greed, but we're in the fear phase. So moving on, let's go to the S&P. So you can see here on the 3-day chart, we had a little retest. We come down to the downside here. It retested this low value area, the low volume area, and the price kind of bounced from there. This was on that red line there. I can adjust this red line now. I'll put it way down here, because actually as time has changed, you can see that this area here, that's a really crap line. Okay, let me just put that as a rectangle. This area here is the area that you want to be looking for, which is the low volume area, and of course, as you can see, that's where the lines are, and that's basically where we bounced here on the 3-day chart. So we are being rejected on the previous year's VWAP, as you can see here, right? So this is the VWAP here from 2021. That's the faint blue line. Let me just take the magnet off. The faint blue line is there from where the market's closed, right? And that's basically where we got rejected there on the S&P. So this still remains resistance. I might put a little red line there, why not? I'll put a little horizontal line there as resistance, and I'm going to make that a dashed line. And now I can take out the little markers that I've just did with the brush marks. Okay, so that's resistance until proven otherwise. This is support until proven otherwise, so I'm going to put that as green. So here the yellow line will remain yellow, just because if we do break below support, then this is the next level of support, and failing that, then then we are very likely to go and travel all the way to the other low volume node, which has confluence with the second standard deviation. As you can see here, 2 standard deviations of the 2021 VWAP. Okay, so this is the value area low, and this is the second standard deviation, and of course that's where the correlation is, the confluence is. Okay, so that's on the 3-day chart. If we look at the smaller time frames, you can see that we're very much ranging here on the daily chart, ranging between that resistance and that level of support there. We kind of broke above the quarterly VWAP, but now we're below it again, so it could potentially come all the way back down here and just test this range and just continue to range inside of this. Okay, break to the upside, and I think we've got a very good chance to going all the way up here to the 4,400s. If, however, we break to the downside instead, then I think we've got a very good chance of entering this volume cluster here and going to revisit the lows. Okay, and that will be a really big problem, not just for Bitcoin, but for the stock market in general, because of course that's basically, this is like the line in the sand between the bulls and the bears, right about the 4,000 mark. Okay, 4,000 points. So break below that, and I think we're going to see some major continuation, and this would have been the extent of the bear rally. But if we do break to the upside, then I think the bear rally's got legs, and we could potentially come all the way up to 4,300, maybe even 4,400 points. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing here on the on the daily chart, and it's pretty much reflected here on the 4-hour chart. You can see right now we're kind of just bouncing here on the monthly VWAP, the current month's VWAP there, right? And so we could potentially see this is the value area high of the previous month VWAP, which is this area here, right? So we're bouncing there, and so we could actually just rotate here on the smaller time frames way above between 4,100 and 4,200, but if we break to either side, then I've already told you what we're looking for, right? So break to the downside, then I think this is the line in the sand down here at 4,000, and then break below that, and I think we're going to revisit these lows at 3,800 points. Okay, so that's the S&P. The Nasdaq, very much the same scenario. Let's start with the 3-day chart as well. Okay, so we bounced on this low volume area here. Okay, we traveled very, very quickly through the low volume area, and now we're kind of like just staying above that second standard deviation, but we kind of got rejected here. Let me just take the second standard deviation off so it becomes a little bit clearer. You can see here that we're kind of like got rejected on the value area low of the developing years VWAP, right, which is basically this line here, right? So being rejected there is not really a good sign, but like I said, we've got plenty of low volume below us, which should act as a little bit of support. Of course, if we, let me just change this to green just to make it a little bit clearer. So that's support. Break below this line, the yellow line is like the line of danger. Basically, this is the line in the sand, and if we break below that, then I think this is the next level of support, which is basically the 2020 value area high. And if we break below that, then I think the next logical level will be this low volume area here, around about 10,400 points. Okay, so right about where 2020 VWAP was closed. So that's what I'm seeing right now, although we are above all of those levels. So if we are above a level of low volume area, level of support, then most people will probably be looking for longs here for a continuation of this bear market rally. Okay, continuation means that this area here will be resistance, and eventually this one here will be resistance. So it remains to be seen if we can get acceptance inside of this volume cluster, or even inside of this volume cluster here. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. Note that this low volume area here has confluence with the value area low of the 2021 VWAP. Okay, and this low volume area here has confluence with the VWAP of 2021. Okay, so again, let's just see if we rotate here like this, or if we break to the upside. If we break to the upside, that's your target, right? It'll be doing something like this, right? If we don't break to the upside, if we actually break to the downside, then I think we've got a very good chance of coming in here and then bouncing. But if we don't, then then we could potentially see much lower prices and come all the way down there. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But it's important to keep an eye on these things. Like I proved to you already, there is still a close correlation with the Nasdaq, the S&P, and Bitcoin. So let's have a quick look at Bitcoin then, or maybe not such a quick look, but let's have a better look at Bitcoin and see what that means. So I've got two standard deviations here on the VWAP, and basically this is the value area high. Let me just get the brush again. This is the value area high, this is the value area low of 2021, right? And this is the second standard deviation, right? Just to put things in context so that you've got a little bit of a mind map of what's going on. We have bounced a couple of times here on the value, on the -2 standard deviation, the lower standard deviation of 2021. Okay, you can see that the developing value area low, which is basically this line here, comes all the way down, right? And it has perfect confluence with the 2021, so just bear with me a second. You can see it here, right? So it has perfect confluence here with the 2021 value area low as well, or the -2 standard deviation, right? So this is a key level, and you can see here that, you know, it's very clear because we've added that as support for now. Okay, so that we're looking at round about sort of 28,400, 28,500, something like that. All right, so that level is support until proven otherwise. If you fail that, then I think we're going to go much lower, but that's perhaps an analysis for another day. Okay, I will have another technical analysis update for you guys on Monday, so I don't think we're going to go and see much lower prices just yet, but in case we do, we've got some targets here. In fact, I'm going to put the valence areas. So I've done some volume zones here, right? And I've added another rectangle there just so that you guys get a good idea. So again, these balance areas that you see here in green, I'm just going to take the VWAP off to become a little bit clearer, are based on high volume clusters. Now I've added a new rectangle here, which is basically a little volume cluster that we've got here between 26 and 22. And you know, it does look like we've already bounced there. We got rejected from this level there, so we could potentially, if we see lower sides, we could potentially bounce there again. Okay, so this is actually support until proven otherwise. Of course, if we go much lower, then the next level that I'll be looking for are I've got some lines here as well, which is just based yet again on these little volume clusters that you can see here, right? So you can see that there's a little bit of consolidation here. That's basically what made this little volume cluster there. And so consolidation usually tends to turn to support. So even if the price does go all the way back down here to 17,000 or whatever, which is way too far ahead to be thinking about this, then these levels of consolidation are likely to cause a little bit of a bounce. So I just wanted to show you that just in case you guys are kind of wanting to see the lower prices on the higher time frame. So in terms of volume zones, I will just put that rectangle there between what's that, 21,000 and 25,500 as a potential area that we could be finding balance in, so like sort of rotating inside of there. Okay, if we do get there, without wanting to complicate things too much, I want to put the weekly levels on, and you can see that basically the lows there, we've got a weekly level at 29,271, but I don't think that that's very relevant, as that's been broken to the downside and to the upside already. So I'm not too keen on trading that. However, I wanted to highlight something here on the weekly chart just before we move on to the lower time frames. I pointed this out to you guys on Friday, and you can see that basically this candle here was a weekly order block, so it's the last down candle, the last red candle if you like, before this impulse all the way to all-time highs, right? So this is demand basically. The price came here and it tested it 3 times, right? That demand got exhausted. We eventually broke below it, attempted to get back inside it, but we got rejected, got below it again, and this is yet another test that we've seen now, and it got rejected. Okay, so we're basically being rejected from this level here, from around about 31,500, right? Which is, if you remember on Friday, I told you that that would be an important level, 31,500. So there we are. You can see here on the weekly chart, it's very, very clear that we got rejected from there. So let's move on to the smaller time frames. So here on the daily chart, it's very clear that we did try and get acceptance above that. We got rejected on this low volume cluster here. low volume area here. We got rejected there, and we got back below, right? So on the 4-hour chart, which is basically the monthly VWAP, and I'm going to take this rectangle off for a second. I just want to sort of like highlight what we'd been watching the whole month basically. So this was the range that I've been telling you guys to trade between around about 30,500 and 28,800, something like that, right? So, you know, we basically deviated below here and then deviated below yet again, but we reclaimed the range. Once we reclaimed the range, what did I say to you guys? The trade would be a long position, be targeting the other side of the range. That's exactly what we did, and we deviated above, right? I said that I'm not really interested in longs here because, you know, we are at the top of the range, but the most likely scenario is that we get a little swing failure pattern, got back inside the range, and the invalidation of that is if we bounce on the top of the range. Well, this was the swing failure pattern. We had a deviation, a massive deviation to the upside. Okay, we got stopped at this monthly VWAP, which was basically the line in the sand that I said to you guys, 32k, right? We got as far as 32,385, right? And then up here I said if we kind of like, you know, we had a little bit of a range going on there, which is probably visible in the 30 minutes. I'll go over that in a second. Once we've lost that range, then basically these candles here, large inefficient candles, we're going to get retested and filled back up again. So at least this one here, right? And what I did say to you guys is if we come back to the bottom of the range here, sorry, to the top of the range and bounce, then I think we're going to see much higher prices. However, if we fall back inside of the range and then test the value area high, right? If we test the high of the range and get rejected there and the price starts cutting over, that's a short. And that's exactly what's happened here, right? We retested this perfectly last night, right? We got rejected on the current month's VWAP here, and the price just dumped from there, right? So we've basically now corrected this anomaly here, this inefficiency, and this inefficiency here, which is basically the two illiquid candles, the large illiquid candles that we saw to the upside. Okay, so what does that mean now? Well, right now we're in the middle of the range. There's no point of trading this, okay? We have bounced here previously on the point of control before going to retest that top of the range, right? So now here we are again. We've just retested that point of control. Is it possible that we go back to the top of the range? Yes. Is it possible that we break to the downside? Also yes. So for me, this is a no trade zone. I don't want to be trading in the middle here, right? I missed my opportunity to short from up here. I also missed the opportunity to short from up here. So I'm not interested in trades. I'd rather like protect the capital and not enter in the middle than you know, then FOMOing in and then finding myself on the wrong side of the trade. So the only trades that I'm interested in is basically shorting this area here, right, the top of the range at around about 30,500, or longing at the bottom of this range here, right? And basically the bottom of the range is sitting at around about 28,800, right? So this level here, right? Which also has a little bit of confluence, and it could extend a little bit lower to this level here, which is the value area low of the previous month's VWAP. So this is the previous month's value area low, this is the previous month's VWAP, and this is the value area high. And as you can see, the previous month's value area low is around about 28,400. Okay, so somewhere between 28,400, 28,700, something like that, is basically the areas that I'll be looking for a long position. And it's potentially just a long scalp, because if this has shown me anything, it's basically weakness. We tried to get acceptance above, we failed, got rejected there, and it's a pretty massive rejection, right? Fell back inside of the range, tested the top of the range, is confirmed that this is indeed resistance now. And so naturally we're going to go and revisit the other side of the balance area, right, which is way down here, down this area. What happens here is quite important, okay? And what we want to see is either the price bounce here, so I form a little range like this, and bounce here, or get here, perhaps go all the way to the point of control right about here, right? Get rejected, and if it gets rejected there, then there's a very strong chance that the next time it hits the bottom of this range, it will break through and go lower. Okay, so we'll have to pay attention to what happens at that level But without a doubt, this is definitely showing weakness on Bitcoin. Okay, strength would have been, even if we got rejected up here, is basically coming all the way down here, finding support at the top of the range, which is basically everybody that was short up here getting out of break even and a willingness to buy, and then showing us some strength and taking us to at least $35,000. That didn't happen. So basically, you know, sometimes what doesn't happen is just as important as what did happen, right? So again, what it's telling me is that it's showing me weakness, right? And I want to see some strength below at these levels, at the highs here. I want to see some continuation if the bulls are right. And at the moment, we're not seeing that. So, you know, I'm not interested in long positions unless we get down here. And that's basically how I'm seeing Bitcoin right now. So now you've got some targets to the upside. Again, this key level here, 32K, remains the level to break if we are to go to the upside, to 35K. As you can see here, there's a low volume area. So if the price does break above this for some reason over the weekend or whatever, then it'll be very quick to teleport all the way to 35K, right? Just because there's low volume there and the price will travel quickly through there, just like it did here. So, that's the targets to the upside. Targets to the downside, like I said, it's already around about 28,800, something like that. And then if we fail that, we might even go and test these lows down here at 25K. But let's have a closer look at the sort of the 1 hour chart and just see where we are with that. So on the 1 hour chart, you can see that basically this level here is the value area low of the previous week, right? The value area low of the previous week VWAP is 28,800, which also has confluence, if you remember, with the bottom of the range there, right? Can you see that? So let me just delete that line again. I'm going to put it as a trend line so that you guys can see it. I'm going to highlight it here on the weekly chart on the bottom left hand corner, and you can see that that green line there, I'm going to make that a little bit thicker now so that you guys can see, right? So this green line here on the bottom left hand corner is the value area low of the weekly VWAP. It also has confluence with the bottom of the range. So this is an important level, and again, like I said, I'm always looking for confluence levels, and that's basically the level that I'd be interested in longing. Okay, a closer look, like I said, on the 1 hour chart, you can see that basically the price rallied from this weekly VWAP, right? But we did leave all of this area here, and this was highlighted to me by a video that I watched the other day about from Adam. Shout out to Adam from Trading Riot. And basically all of this moved to the upside, okay, even though it was kind of like small and controlled, didn't really get retested to the lows, right? Which means that there's still loads of stops here. So basically everybody that was long here has left all those stops there. So that's liquidity to the downside. So that adds basically a little bit of it tells a story basically, right? So that if we are to go and see downside, I doubt very much that we'll see a significant bounce until we take out at least all of that. So even if the price comes all the way down here and starts ranging, I wouldn't be surprised to see a wick to the downside, and then what I want to see for a long is a reclaim of that value area low before we move up. Okay, but this area here is an important level, important area if you like, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this get taken out completely. Okay, so it's basically just below that range low, right? So if I'm looking at 28,300, right, let's have a look at that on the 4 hour chart, and hey, there's the line there, which is basically, like I said, the value area low of that monthly VWAP, right? So do you see how everything starts kind of making sense, right? So you just kind of want to keep in mind these levels, right? So 28,300, 28,700, 800, something like that. Those are basically the areas that I'll be looking to enter a long position. If that doesn't hold, then of course we're going to go much lower, and then we'll be looking at the other levels like I've been talking about, which could potentially be, we'll look at the higher time frames for that. And we're looking at 25,600, which is basically the second standard deviation of the 2021 VWAP, this one here, right? And we could even potentially see the value area high of the 2020 VWAP around about 20k. All right, so we're looking at 25 and 20k really as levels of interest if we are indeed going to the downside. But I don't think that's going to play out so quickly. unless something dramatic happens in the markets. But that's basically how I'm playing it, right? So now you've got basically a little bit of direction and some levels to trade if we go down, and we've also got levels to trade if you go up. So let's move on and go on to Exocharts, and I guess I will start with the weekly volume profile. And this is basically each of these profiles is basically a week, and you can see that we tested the highs here. There was this little green wick that you see to the upside. And basically, where did it stop? It gets stopped right basically where this low volume area is, around about 32k, right? So 32,392 it says there, right? So now we've got a naked point of control here at 29,270, and we've also got a naked point of control much lower at around about 22,700. Okay, that's on the weekly. We've also got a naked point of control here at $35,000, $36,000, but it doesn't look like we're going to go up there in much of a hurry, right? So that will be the target if we do indeed bounce at the bottom. Looking at the daily volume profile, you can see that the more interesting level here, the naked point of control at 29,140. Okay, so let's say 29,200. Okay, this level here. And this is basically a naked point of control that was left from the 29th of May, so just the end of last month. Right, so we basically rallied from the bottom when we deviated the lows. We rallied from there. We entered the range high. We couldn't get back above it. Now we're kind of revisiting, going to the bottom of the range. So this will be the next target, and I think that's where we're heading. Okay, when we take that out at 29,000, then there's another naked point of control way down here, 27,500. But we'll have to wait and see if we do indeed get all the way down there. Or if we'll miss it, just like we did here, and we bounce it to around about 28,000, something like that. There's also a naked point of control here, like I said, around about 31,500, but that wasn't to be, it wasn't to be. We didn't take that as it is above that low volume area. So that remains there as a target, but we won't get to that unless we found some buyers down here and find a little bounce. Okay, so let's have a look at the market profile and see if we can make more sense out of that. So here, this is quite a messy chart, as you can see here. This is a previous range, right? So previous range, this is basically the highs. We're just kind of looking at this for the Exocharts traders, people that trade more than just candlesticks, but it's basically looking at exactly the same thing, right? So we've just lost today, this is basically the expanded profile here, we've just lost today's value area. Okay, we've got some single prints around about here, 29,980, so let's say 30k, just to be on the safe side, right? We've also got plenty of trap buyers here at the top, even though some of that delta unwind shows that many of them got out as the price started coming lower. So there's probably, let's say, there's delta 27 million to the upside here, and then there's delta minus 60 million to the downside. So I think that the great majority of those guys have already exited, and plenty of shorts added here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce. Where would I expect to see the bounce? Well, those levels that I've been talking about, which is around about $29,000. There's a naked point of control there, and also a daily VWAP that is naked, pretty much. It's not been taken, right? Which is that green line there. So I'm going to show you that on the candlesticks. Actually, I forgot to show you that. So let me just make that a little bit clearer to see what we're talking about here. I'm going to take the weekly off. I'm just going to put the daily, right? So just a quick sort of analysis. The vertical lines that you see is basically each day, right? Market close. So let's go back here. So you can see here basically when the VWAP reset on the day, straight up you get taken, right? Here as well, that VWAP reset there, it got taken straight away. The VWAP reset there, it got taken to the upside. This VWAP, daily VWAP reset there, where did it get taken? All the way up here. So that wick to the downside, that's exactly where it bounced, almost to the dollar, as you can see that there, right? Let me just make that a little bit clearer by taking the vertical lines off. Right, you can see that faint green line there. That's basically exactly where we bounced, right? This one got taken out, this one got taken out, and you can see that these have got a really good hit rate, right? They get taken out every single time, right? So basically we'd left one here, right? Down here, it got taken out. This one formed way up here, that got taken out to the upside before we moved down, right? The more recent ones, this one reset here. Where did the price bounce from yesterday? I mean, it tapped it perfectly to the dollar there, right? Taps it, curls over and dies, right? There's a reset there as well. Basically, that's where the daily view app is today, and it got taken out. Okay, so the ones that didn't get taken out is this one here, right? So 29,100 and 28,800, yet more confluence to that level, 28,800, which is basically the value area low of the previous week's view app, right? So you see now it all starts to kind of like make sense. So that's basically round about here, right? And then we've got another one down here, but I do think that this one got taken because, like you see here, that's the extension to the lows. That's basically that naked view app that we left all the way back from the May the 12th, and that then bounced right there, even though it's not showing here that it's bounced. It's still showing as naked, but I don't think it is. I think pretty much we've bounced there already, but this one here is a naked point of control of 29,100, 28,800, something like that, right about this 29k area, and I think that's basically where we're heading to now, right? Without wanting to confuse things too much, and I'm sure that some of you guys are pretty confused right now, but I'm going to show you just 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? So let's just make that a little bit bigger, merge that into 13 profiles, right? You can see basically that I've just merged all of these profiles because they were kind of overlapping. And I've put a rectangle here earlier just to highlight where the value area highs, the value area low are, okay? So that's basically where this rectangle is. And that's basically the range that I showed you on the candlesticks chart, right? And so we bounced here on the composite value area high, couldn't get above the point of control, and then we kind of flushed straight down, right? Where's the value area low of this? Well, it's exactly where that naked view app is and where the naked point of control are, okay? 29,100, 28,800, something like that. We could deviate and then reclaim that again. So this is basically a key area, and we want to see a bounce at these levels, otherwise we're going to go much lower. All right, like I said, there is a naked point of control here at 31,500, but we haven't taken that yet. So basically what I expect to happen now is that we're back inside of this range, right? So we're back inside of this range here. So naturally, hopefully we'll see a bounce here, and we go to the upside, go down to the downside, and we continue on this range that we've been pretty much the whole month of May, right? Which is basically here, with plenty of deviations above and below, but that's basically like we were seeing here on the 4-hour chart. This range here, right? So not really different, but you can see that we basically got rejected from the top now, so we're on the bottom. So I'm just repeating the same stuff, but I wanted to show you that on the market profile so you start making sense of these, and also for the people that trade the market profile, they can understand some of these key areas, that they can see the single prints and the naked points of control and so on. So that's basically where we are. We're basically range bound yet again. We'll have to wait and see if we can bounce at the bottom and go back to the top, or if we do indeed lose that composite value area low. So that's all I've got for Bitcoin right now. So let's quickly move on to Ethereum, and we start with a 3-day chart, and we're still basically inside of this this balance area, right? Again, we're looking at balance areas based on volume, and you can see that this is a high volume cluster here. Let's have a look at that like that. So this is the high volume cluster here in purple, right? We tried to get back above into green, but we couldn't. We got rejected there. So naturally what we're going to be doing is testing the bottom of that, and testing the bottom of that range is around about $1,500, okay, where there's an imbalance, and then there's another balance area just below between $1,500 and $1,000 for Ethereum. So what remains to be seen now on the higher time frames is if we do get all the way down here and we start ranging, will we get rejected from the bottom and accept back above here, which in this case will be a long position targeting this, right? So let's say that we're down here. Do we get rejected from this area here And if we do and get acceptance back above 1500, that means that we'll be targeting $2,000. However, if we do not, if we get all the way up here, go below 1500 and then cannot get back above it because this low volume area is becoming resistance, then again, like we did here, we'll be targeting the much lower prices around about $1,000. Okay, so that's the higher time frame view of it. Of course, we could just bounce there, right? We could just come all the way here and then bounce there. And if we do bounce, obviously, again, the target will be $2,000, and this will be the range that we'll be trading in, right? So we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. But at least now you've got some kind of concrete levels on the higher time frame that you can trade from. Okay, so that's on the higher time frame. On the lower time frame, it's very quickly. The quarterly, you can see that there's basically, we got rejected off the value area low of the quarterly there, right? And it looks like we're well on our way to $1,500. If we look at the monthly, we got basically a VWAP reset, the monthly up there. We didn't even get to test that, but we did lose the current developing month's VWAP, right? So we got rejected there. We couldn't get back inside of this range, even though we did go inside the range like this. We lost it straight away, and that's basically a deviation, if you like. So let's say that this is the range here. Right, we got rejected at that point of control, came back below it, and so it does look, it's showing a little bit of weakness, and we're being held by this kind of this 8-hour order block here. But I mean, it won't be long before we kind of, in my personal opinion, I think, you know, the more likely scenario is that we do go and test $1,500 before anything. Okay, so I wouldn't be interested in longs unless we kind of either bounce strongly here, or if we do bounce here, if we reclaim this range, then which is basically above $1,900, as you can see here, is a low volume area. If we reclaim that, then I would be keen to take a long position, and I'll be targeting at least the previous month's VWAP here or the range highs, right? But you know, I'm not seeing that strength yet, and obviously Ethereum follows what Bitcoin's doing, so I expect lower prices, and I'm looking at $1,500. So that's on the 4-hour chart, and here on the weekly VWAP and the 30-minute chart, or let's put it on the 1 hour. You can see that basically we're just kind of like, we're below the weekly, below the daily, and we've just lost the value area low of the previous week's VWAP, right? So let me just delete this rectangle here. So as you can see that there, that's the value area low. We've just lost that. We've tested it as well. It has perfect confluence with the daily VWAP that you can see here in green. We got rejected there, and this now remains resistance. Okay, so this is resistance until proven otherwise, around about $1,800. Okay, you can see here there's a low volume area there, and then there's another low volume area here as well. So this is resistance, and then this level here is resistance as well. Okay, which, if you look at this range that I highlighted for you guys on the 4-hour chart here, right, I'm going to put a little circle there. You can see that it's basically that area there, right? It's the bottom of that range that I showed you on the 4-hour chart, right? There's the range there, that's the bottom there, right? So basically I want to see a price get back above $1,900 in order for us to have a chance to revisit the top of the range, and maybe even that monthly VWAP that we were talking about. But in the meantime, there's no evidence of that, so we'll just have to play it to the downside and look at $1,500 as a level of support. Okay, so now you've got some levels to the downside. You've also got some levels to the upside. You know that resistance is around about $1,800, $1,900. That's levels to take shorts from. Of course, if we break above it and hold and reclaim that, then that's a long. But until then, this is resistance until proven otherwise. And the level of support is $1,500, like I said. So that's Ethereum versus USD. Let's have a look at the market profile here on Exocharts and see if we can find any more clues. And yeah, basically we're kind of testing these lows. There's no naked points of control or anything significant here to the downside, and this is just a classic example of how Ethereum is failing to take out technical levels because it's so in tandem with Bitcoin, right? So it's just looking weak versus Bitcoin, and it's not kind of taking these technical levels. As soon as Bitcoin dumps, it will dump regardless, even if there was a technical level really close to it, right? So the TA on Ethereum and on altcoins is pretty much kind of useless because Bitcoin dominance is very apparent in these charts, right? So just bear in mind, if you're trading Ethereum, you need to keep a really close eye on Bitcoin because the TA is almost kind of useless, if you like. There is a naked point of control here at $1,932, 1933, and there's another naked point of control here at $2,000. And those are basically the targets for the upside if we are indeed to reclaim that range. That is it. Let's have a look at perhaps the volume profile and see if we can find anything else. Yeah, there's that naked point of control here below. It's a volume point of control at around about $1,750. Okay, so if we can bounce there, then it depends really on what, again, like on what Bitcoin's doing, but we could potentially bounce there at $1,740 and then see a move to the upside. But again, you can see here there's such a low volume area here above $1,850 that I'd be very sort of careful in longing above this. Okay, so even if I was to take a long from down here, I'll be targeting this as a range here, right? So you'd be targeting basically these highs. If you're in a long from down here, this is the high that you'll be targeting and taking profits, or perhaps even exiting your long position, right? If we find ourselves up here again, that's a short position, and I'll be targeting the lows. It's quite simple, really. So that is it for Ethereum versus USD. Let's have a look at Ethereum BTC. And again, the weakness is showing. Let me just have a sip of my coffee. The weakness continues to be shown here on Ethereum BTC. And you can see that this previous level of support that we'd bounced here a couple of times there, we've just lost that. So if I put the support lines there, you can see that there now, right? So I'm going to change that. I'm going to put that as resistance. And that level there should now act as resistance on the way up. Okay, so that key level still remains untapped there. That was a key level that we lost. We didn't really tap that, I mean, unless you count this, let's have a look at the daily. So unless you count this little consolidation here that we couldn't get back above that trend line. And yeah, we didn't really tap that yearly VWAP to confirm that this is indeed resistance. So that remains a big target if we do see a rally on Ethereum. But for now, the closest level of resistance is indeed this one here, right? And then we've got all the other targets to the upside as well as resistance. Levels of support, we've got 57,000 sats, 55 and 53,500 as levels of support. And again, these are just based on volume and based on the VWAPs, right? So you can see that this level here, it's a 2021 VWAP. Got a value area low here as well for the 2021 VWAP, and if I put those support levels, you can see that they're highlighted there, and there's not really much here, right? So that we could see a very quick travel to the downside. You can see the low volume area forming here, right? So this whole area, it'll be really quick for the price to get all the way down there. Okay, we could potentially actually see, let me just put another level there on the edge of this high volume cluster there. Could put that as support. Okay, just to be a little bit more accurate, but we can see a little bounce there, but there's really hardly any volume there looking at the volume profile, so the price will travel very quickly through that if we do find ourselves way down there. But there are a few levels of interest here, particularly this one. Like I said, it's the 2021 VWAP close at 53,500 sats, okay? And that's basically it. Now, if we continue to see this weakness, I do believe that these levels of support will probably give way, and we'll continue to print lower highs and lower lows until we get to this level. And this level is a level that I'd be interested to see if there is a little bit of a bounce there. It could be a very sharp bounce, or we could form a little range like I just painted, but you could see a little bounce like that straight away as well. Okay, so you want to be careful with that. But you know, the most likely thing is that we see a little bit of a range forming at those lows, and then maybe even like a wick to the downside and then a reclaim, which means that we're going higher. But that's basically how I'm seeing Ethereum versus BTC. This remains the key level, and we're not, I don't see Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin unless we see a very strong impulse all the way to those levels there. And if we do see that, then that's the beginning of Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin. But then this is an important level, so can we break above it and continue higher, or will we just roll over and get rejected there and go much lower? That remains to be seen, right? So you have to analyze this as it comes and as it happens, right? So that's Ethereum BTC. So there's not really much of a change. We broke market structure. We continue to print lower highs and lower lows. So I do think that we've got plenty of room to go all the way down to here at 53,500 sats. Okay, that's how I see Ethereum BTC. So let's move on to the DeFi coins and the lending markets. We start with FODL versus USDT, FODL versus Tether, and this is on OkEx. So let me just take out some of these brush marks. Right, we continue to print lower highs and lower lows. This level of support is holding by a thread now. Let's see if it holds. If it doesn't hold, then the next level will be here around about 5 cents. And then if that doesn't hold, we'll be looking at around about 4 cents. Right, and then perhaps here 3 cents as levels of support. And I'm just looking at big round numbers because there's no previous price action, so there's no frame of reference. So that's what I'm saying right now. This is an important level of resistance here. And even if we find ourselves kind of starting to rotate here inside and form a little range, which would be great, this level will remain resistance until proven otherwise. Like I said the whole of last week, the reason why these are in yellow is because this is a large liquid move, right? So inefficient move, not much in opposing order flow. So I think that if the price rallies, it will travel very quickly, just like it did here, to the upside. And then this will be the most significant level of resistance, which is around about 13 cents, okay? 13, 14 cents. So that's why those two are in red. And this one here is in yellow. So just keep that in mind, right? So this is resistance until proven otherwise. This is strong resistance until proven otherwise. Previous level of support. And untested, right? We didn't come and test that back to confirm that as resistance. So yeah, that's on FODL versus USDT. Let's move on to FODL USDC, which is on sushiswap. Basically, we're holding on to this level of support. Okay, this yellow line, again, I've got it in yellow because I don't think it's going to be like really significant resistance. So I'm going to make it a little bit faint like this. The real level of resistance is this one here. And if we lose this level of support, then we could come all the way down here and start ranging inside of here. However, this is still support until proven otherwise, and that's why that arrow is there. And we'd expect to see the price range in here like that. Right, break above this level of resistance, there's hardly any volume denoted by this green little line here that I've put here, right? So as you can see here, there's hardly any volume there. So I think the price will travel very, very quickly to the next level of resistance. Again, larger liquid move to the downside. So that level of resistance is around about 14 cents. So that is it. We're range bound until proven otherwise. If we break to the downside, we'll be looking at big round numbers like 5 cents, 4 cents, and so on. FODL versus ETH. So again, I've put a little circle there just because this yellow line could act as resistance, but it might not because the price didn't stay there very long, okay? So this is the important level of resistance up here, and this is an important level of support, okay? Although it does look like we're being held here around about 325,000 Y. But I do think that if we go all the way down here, this could potentially be a little range here. That's why I've got the little arrow there, just here, right? Make that a little bit easier for you guys to see what I'm talking about. So we can see this little range here, or if we break to the upside from that one, we can see that little range there, right? Overall, this this here is the big range that you're playing, right? So basically one big range with two small ranges inside, so a little double distribution there. You know, if it does break above this one, if it does break above this yellow line, you can see yet again hardly any volume there, right? Large liquid move to the downside. So potentially we could see an explosive move all the way up to this resistance level, which is the edge of a balance area here, a volume cluster, right? So let's just wait and see what happens. But again, potential upside. If you're taking a long position here, don't close everything at the middle line, because we could potentially rally all the way up to here where the real resistance is. Okay, so take some profit off by all means. And I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not telling you what to do, but there is potential that we could break to the upside and extend ourselves with a big long wick like this, like we saw there, right? Or even here, nice big long wick like that, and we could find ourselves all the way up here at around about 425,000 way. Moving on to Binance versus, sorry, BNB versus USD, so Binance coin. And again, we can see that we're basically kind of rotating inside of this range, right? Nothing really much has changed. This continues to be resistance, this continues to be support, and that's why I've got this range highlighted. Let me just put this as a rectangle here. This is the range that we've got highlighted here, right? So we continue in this range until proven otherwise. Break to the downside, and I think we could see this range down here, right, with this being support and this being resistance. And if we break to the upside, then hopefully this resistance will turn to support. This will be the next level of resistance, and then we'll just range up there, right? But for the time being, we're kind of ranging in between $293, $295, something like that, and $330. If we're, you know, and again, let me just highlight this. We're getting very close to the bottom of that range, right? Very, very close to the bottom of this range. So at the bottom of this range, you want to be taking long positions. At the top of the range, you want to be taking short positions. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but that's basically what I would do if I would be trading this. Binance versus Bitcoin. Let me just delete some of these scribbles. Right, so as I said to you guys on Friday, we're kind of inside of this gray rectangle area here, right? So we're inside of this. We tried to get above on this balance area. We couldn't get acceptance there. We got rejected. And so we got two potential ranges here. We've got this one here, and it does look like the price is holding here just above the current year's VWAP, right? So we've got that range there, and if we break to the downside, then I think we've got this range here, right? So again, one big range divided by two. It's as simple as that. Okay, so basically a double distribution. So here is a good opportunity to take a long scalp to target this top of the range, but you have to be careful and manage your risk accordingly, because tight stop basically, because you know, we could potentially go all the way down because we're inside a bigger range, right, on the higher time frames. So you have to keep that in mind. So here in the middle, I don't like taking trades. I prefer taking trades at the extreme. So here at this line is basically for shorts, targeting the range lows and taking the great majority of the profits halfway. The same applies to the downside. If we find ourselves down here, taking a long position, taking the great majority of the profits here in the middle, but targeting the top area, right? So that's basically how you should be playing this. So that's Binance versus Bitcoin, and Binance is looking a little bit weak versus Bitcoin, but we are close to support here, being supported by the yearly VWAP and very close to the mid-range. Binance versus ETH. Interesting. We're seeing BNB having a little bit of strength here against Ethereum. Ethereum is looking pretty weak, so I'm not surprised to see that. Could this be yet another deviation? I could adjust this line slightly, like this. Okay, and if we get rejected up here, this is a good opportunity for a short position, okay, which means that it will confirm that we're kind of back inside of this range here, right? So this is the range, like I've got here the arrow basically delineating that. So I'm looking at this as a range, right? And if we break to the downside, then this here will be the next range. Okay. Of course, if we break to the upside here, and this is confirmed as, instead of resistance, is confirmed now as support, like this, something like that, and we keep getting rejected from these lows here, right? Or from the previous highs, if you like. If we get rejected there, then I think the next target will be round about 2000 way up here, right? And then this here will be the next range. But we'll have to see how it all plays out, really. So at the moment, this is resistance until proven otherwise, and this is support until proven otherwise. Note how the yearly view app is there as well, okay, to support that level. All right, so edge of a high volume cluster, yearly view app, that's plenty a good level for support. And if you are in a short from way up here, that's where you should be taking profits, not way down here, here. Okay, so just keep that in mind, right? Of course, if we break to the upside, there's hardly any volume there. As you can see here, there's hardly any volume. So the price will travel very, very quickly to this level of resistance here. And then, of course, we'll have to wait and see if it plays above it, like this, so that we go higher. Or if it does a little deviation like this, falls back inside and then continues lower, and we find indeed that this is a range. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But for now, this is at resistance, and this is a good opportunity for a short with the invalidation very, very close, which is basically just above these candles here, right? So I'll make it really easy for you. A short position which should look something like this. Right, note how this stop loss right above these highs here. Okay, so potentially a 3R trade right there. Okay, just to make it nice and easy for you. But again, like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. This is just for educational and training purposes, educational and entertainment purposes only. Okay, so again, we've got rejected from the top line there. I think it's safe to say that this is now resistance. I'm going to put that as a red line. So this is AAVE versus USD, by the way. And so this is resistance until proven otherwise. Okay, this was going to be a range, but we failed to reclaim it. So as such, the range that you want to be trading in right now is this little tight range here. Okay, like that. And as such, I expect the price to bounce from here like this. Okay, until proven otherwise. Of course, if we break below that, then the next level of support will be way down here, and so we'll have another range way down here like that. But I hope that makes it clear for you guys, just so that you know what to look for. Okay, so that's basically the purple line is basically where the range that we're trading in right now, and we're basically trading in between two low volume nodes there, so between $95 and $113. Okay, break above that, then I think we've got a very good chance to going all the way up to $150, $160. But for the time being, this is resistance until proven otherwise. And of course, if we lose that $95 level, then $100 becomes, and that's basically where we bounce. We're bouncing at $100. So yet again, we've got another little line of support there with a big round number, round about $100. Let's put that at around $100 mark, something like that, right? So significant or not, it's a big round number, but this is the range that we'll be trading in, right? So that's AAVE versus USD. AAVE versus BTC. To make things easy yet again, we're inside of this range here. Okay, this is basically where you'll be trading, right? This is resistance, this is support until proven otherwise. Okay, so we just trade inside of there, and that's basically shorts from up here, longs from down here, and you expect the price to just be ranging like this. All right, so that's AAVE versus BTC, and at the moment it does look like it's being supported by this previous level of resistance. Okay, and if we can find support here, then we'll be definitely targeting the upside. But again, we're in the middle of the range. There's a no trade zone. Down here you'll be taking longs, up here you'll be taking shorts, but in the middle you don't want to be trading. That's my personal opinion. AAVE versus ETH. So again, let's just draw that little rectangle there just to make things a little bit easier. This is the range that we're trading in right now. Okay, so it's 580 way as support, and we've got a 642 way as resistance, which is also the value area high of this yearly VWAP there, right? So I expect the price to just rotate between there, and as always, if it breaks to the upside, this will be the next level of resistance. Hopefully this resistance will turn to support and we form a little range in there, right? If we break to the downside, we've got the yearly VWAP right here, and we can see this little arrow that you can see here is basically the range that we'll be trading here, because I do think that this is strong support. Okay, and then we'll have to see if this is resistance or not. Okay, you can see that there's low volume nodes there, and this is basically where I'm taking these ranges from. So that's AAVE versus ETH. Let's move on to compound versus USD, and we lost that level of support. Okay, so that was an important level, right about $60. We've just lost that, so this here will now remain as resistance. I'm going to delete this arrow, and I think we are on our way to be trading this range here. Okay, of course, as always, if we break to the upside, then this here is the next level of resistance, even though we didn't quite get there. So we're at all-time lows here, but this is the edge of a higher volume cluster, as you can see here. If I do it like this, you can see that this is the edge of this higher volume cluster here, right? So we're trading between $50 and $60. Okay, $60 as resistance, $50 as support. Break above 60, I think we've got a very good chance to going all the way to 80. Okay, $75 acting as resistance at the moment. Okay, so I could put a little line there at around about $75, like this. Okay, but I do think that that's just a psychological level because it's a big round number. But ideally, what we want to see is this level here being taken out, right? $80. So this is the range that you'll be trading right now, and I think $60 would be resistance and $50 would be support. So we'll be trading there like that. Okay, it does look like we've just lost it, so we could potentially be on our way to $50. So that's an interesting short there, especially if we get back all the way up here. We're almost at the middle of the range, so again, no trade zone. Compound versus BTC. Another one that has lost an important level of support. So this is now resistance. Okay, so it does look like we're on our way. We tested this here, this previous level of support here. We tested that. That is indeed resistance now. So I'm going to put a little line there, also as resistance. And you can see that this level is now considered resistance. We've lost this previous level as well, which is where we bounced from before here, right? And it's no longer support, it is indeed resistance. So naturally, the range that you should be trading in right now should be this one here, like that, right? So 200 sats as resistance and 150 sats as support. Okay, big round numbers because again, we're at all-time lows. So I'm looking at 100, 150, 200, and so on. Okay, on the grand scale of things, that's what you should be looking for. Compound versus ETH. Again, yet another little bit of evidence that shows you. I'm going to delete all of this, all these brush marks. Let me just complete my sentence. Delete this and complete my sentence. And basically what I'm talking about is this here. The value area low of the developing year's VWAP, right? See how the price respects that. Got rejected there. The whole of here got rejected there, right? And here again. You can see that there, to the dollar, right? So you know the algorithms are playing this. So basically, this is support here. This is resistance. Potentially this level here should also be resistance if you've got the value area low, or if you've got a VWAP with one standard deviation, that will do. Okay, so it's very easy. You just go into indicators, press VWAP like this, just a normal VWAP like this, community script, right, by debugged. Press a VWAP like that. Then you'll have to just This was a complicated one. Perhaps this is a you just want a normal VWAP like this. Put it as a yearly VWAP, and then you just put -1 standard deviation for the value area low, +1 standard deviation for the value area high. Okay, and you can do that quite clearly. If you don't know how to do that, please join the group on Discord and I'll show you how to do that another time, but I'll just crack on with the stream for now. So again, this is the range that you should be trading in, right? So we're looking at round about 300 way for support, and at the moment 350 way for resistance, but we could potentially go all the way up to around about 375 way as well. Okay, so this is the range that you should be trading in right now. I'm going to put another little level there. Okay, so you can see here it acts as a little bit of support. It is confirmed this on multiple times that it's now resistance. So a little bit of confluence there, okay? So in fact, let's just be a little bit more accurate with our levels, and I'm going to put this like this and delete that. Okay, so this is the range that you should be trading in right now. Okay, 350 way as resistance, 300 as support. That's on compound versus ETH. Let's move on to BAT versus USD. And again, this level is acting as resistance and it continues to do so. We've had a little bit of support here, which is basically this little low volume node there, right? So I'm going to put a little line there because it is proving quite strong. I'm going to put that as a green line, and I'm going to delete some of these other scribbles just to make it a little bit more granular so that you guys can see this on lower time frames and not get caught out, right? So you want to be trading this range here right now. Okay, so we're looking at round about 35 cents for support and 43 cents as resistance. Okay, something like this, right? Break to the upside, and I think we've got a very good chance of going up to here and perhaps even this one here, right? This is the value area low of the developing years VWAP. You can see that there, right? If we break to the downside, then this level here should act as support as well. And again, we're just looking at volume, okay? But this is, you know, as you can see, there's a low volume area there, right? And at the edge of a higher volume cluster. So this should act as support, but if we fail that, then I think we've got a very good chance to entering this area here, this balance area here, and then we'll be rotating inside of there. But we'll just have to wait to see how that plays out. For the time being, that's acted as support. We bounced to there. You can see that there, this line. We bounced, then we got rejected, and we stayed above it. So we cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, this is the levels that you want to be looking for. Level of support, level of resistance, and this is the range. Again, this is support and this is resistance. Okay, so that's BAT versus USD. 35 cents as support, 43 cents as resistance. BAT versus BTC, very much the same scenario yet. Again, right, this is the range that we'll be trading, like this. And we're kind of still close to the bottom, but not right at the bottom. So at the bottom, you want to be looking for longs. At the top, you want to be looking for shorts, or at least to take profit of your longs. Okay, so we're still range bound here. BAT versus ETH. BAT looking a little bit stronger compared to ETH because ETH is looking so crap. And this level here should be acting as support. So the range that you should be trading in right now should be this one. Okay, there's a potential level of resistance here with this low volume, sorry, with the value area low of the yearly VWAP. Okay, and you can see that this is previous resistance here. Previous support turns to resistance. So I'm going to put a little line there, turn that to red, just so that you know. Okay, so again, one big range that could potentially have a little failure point in the middle, right? But overall you can see that there's not much volume there, so this could be a much higher range, so we'll just have to wait and see, right? You can see here as well that there's a low volume node here, as well as where the red line is, and this is what is causing resistance right now. Okay, that's basically exactly where we bounced down from. So I could even put another little line there like that, right? So overall this is the range here in the purple rectangle, but these two red lines are acting as resistance so far, so we could potentially just be ranging inside of here like this, right? Break to the downside, and then this will be the next range, right about here. Break to the upside, then top of the range here, and then potentially all the way up here we've got the yearly VWAP and yet another edge of a high volume cluster, which is this one here. Okay, but you can see that this one here is going to be strong resistance right at the edge of the volume. So that is BAT versus ETH. Let's move on to Link versus USD. Okay, so it does look like we've lost this level of support. So I'm going to put that as an orange line because we're still pretty close to it, because this could be just a little wick. If we cannot, in fact, let me just move that down here like this. Okay, you can see here that actually we've got a high volume cluster there, right? And that high volume cluster has got a little bit of a shelf going on here that should act as resistance, and that's basically what's going on. We kind of like couldn't get back above this point of control, which is this high volume node there. So if we break to the downside now, this will be the bottom of the range, and this will be support, and this will turn to resistance. However, if we bounce here, then this level here should be potential resistance, and this one is the important level of resistance way up here. Okay, so we'll either be trading here, which is the current range we're in, but we'll have to wait and see if we can hold that. If we cannot hold that, then we go to the bottom. If we can break above this middle line here, then I think this will be the next level of resistance. Okay, that's Link versus USD. Right now support is around about $6.50, $6.70, and the next level of resistance will be around about $8. Link versus BTC, we're on our way down. Like I said, this is a strong level of resistance. This is the bigger range, as you can see here. And so let's put the little rectangle so it makes it a little bit easier for you guys to identify, and that's the range that we're trading in. Okay, break to the downside, we've got the next level of support. Break to the upside, we've got the next level of resistance and a potential range to be forming, as this was a previous level of support, so it'll be strong resistance because it's largely untested. Okay, so that's Link versus BTC. Moving on to Link versus ETH. Okay, so we broke above this level of resistance. It's interesting. So if this can hold now, let me just take that line off. Take this line off. Right. In fact, now I'm going to leave that in there. Okay, so now the range that you'll be looking for is this one. Right, that's the range that you want to be trading in. Okay, if that can hold, this is the next level of resistance. It's here, and this should turn to support. If that can hold. If not, then we fall back inside and we continue to range down here, and this was just a little deviation. Right? How do you spot a deviation? Let me just show you. I showed you this on previous videos, I'll show it to you again. A deviation means coming all the way up here like this, go back inside, get rejected, and then fall back inside of the range and retest it as resistance. Okay, this here is basically your entry for a short, and you'll be targeting the lows like that, right? But you have to wait for confirmation. It doesn't work by just kind of like FOMOing in at the top, right? Because if we do go like this and it starts coming down, it doesn't mean that it's going to go straight back inside of the range. This could bounce here, right? It could be just like a support resistance flip. So that's why it's important to look for confirmation, and the confirmation looks like getting back inside the range and confirming that is resistance. Okay, as soon as it starts rolling over like that and it gets rejected, this is the entry for the short. All right, so I hope that helps. So let's move on to uni versus US dollar. Again, the range now is this. Targeting the lows as support. It does look like we're kind of bouncing there, so I'm just going to put that on the line. You can see this here, high volume cluster here, and basically that green line is now right at the edge of that support. Okay, basically we had a little bit more price. Now we can see that where the low volume node is, so this just needs adjusting slightly. So as such, let's move that a little bit closer like that. And I think on the higher time frames, this overall, let me just delete that. Like that. Okay, and again you can see here very, very clearly the value area low is acting as resistance, as shown here. Okay, so let's see if we can hold that as support. If we can, let me just take out these lines. Okay, this is the range that we want to be seeing. This is the next level of support, and this is the next level of resistance. As you can see, it's going to be a strong level of resistance because it is previous support. It got tested here, confirmed as resistance. That's just one tap, so this is still a high probability trade to take a short. Okay, so basically we're still range bound. If we break to the upside, that's resistance. If we break to the downside, that's support. Uni versus BTC. Wow, okay, lots of scribbles there. Took a little bit too long to explain that on the previous TA update, so let's start from the beginning. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what that is there. Oh, okay, so that's just a previous close. Okay. In fact, I'm going to delete that just to make things a little bit easier. And I'm going to delete that as well. Okay, so now things become a little bit clearer. This is the range that we're trading in. And again, we're very, very close to support here. So at these lows, you want to be looking for longs. At these highs, you want to be looking for shorts. Okay, so it does look like there's a low volume area here. So if this teleports to the upside, it'll be very quick, just like it was quick to the downside there. Okay, so this is support, this is resistance. There is a little mid line there because you can see here there's a little volume distribution inside. Right, so we could just be ranging here as well, right? But like I said, because there's low volume above, it is resistance to proven otherwise. But if it does break to the upside, it will teleport very, very quickly and violently to the upside. All right, so just keep that in mind. Good opportunity to take longs down here, and at the top here is a good opportunity to take a short because again, that was support, confirm that as resistance, and that's still a high probability trade because it's only been tapped once. So moving on to Uni versus ETH, the final pair. And I'm going to delete some of these brush marks and try and simplify things. And I'm going to take that fib retracement out. And the trend line as well. And this is basically the range that we're trading in right now. Okay, so that rectangle there. So this is resistance, and this is support. Okay, break to the downside, this is the next level of support. Break to the upside, this is the next level of resistance. And again, this was previous support, got tested perfectly as resistance, but it's only been tested once, so this is a high probability trade for a short. Okay, but you can see here, this is previous level of support, and it's not even been tested yet. So again, this is a high probability trade for a short. This here should be decent support. It's only been taken a couple of times there. It's only been tested a couple of times, should I say. So that kind of completes all of the DeFi coins that I need to cover. So I hope this was useful to you guys. Let's have a quick look at Bitcoin and see what we're doing. We're still very much, let's have a look at the 4-hour chart. It just seems to be a little bit clearer at the moment. We're still very much kind of bouncing on this point of control here. So again, and just to recap, basically this here could be an interesting intraday level of support for a scalp. We could potentially see a bounce all the way back up to 30,500, where I'll be looking for shorts. Okay, we're taking this as the level for a invalidation. So we'll be doing something like this. Taking this level here, maybe even up here actually, the value area high of the current VWAP, right? So even if the price comes all the way up here and wicks to the upside, okay, this here will cap the price, and I'll be looking for the lower levels. Okay, I'm definitely taking profit here at the point of control. However, as it stands right now, it doesn't look like it wants to do that. It does look like it just wants to keep on going down. Okay, so I'm not really interested in taking a long. I'd rather stalk a short up here. This is a diddle in the middle sort of thing. So you want to be taking longs down here, or potentially even here, right? That's what I'm going to be looking for. I hope this was useful. I hope it puts you on the right side of the trades. We've got a long weekend coming up, so I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Don't spend too much time in front of the charts. In the meantime, I'll have another technical analysis update on Monday. I'll just double check actually. I haven't checked if there's any questions in the group. Good day, Jay. Just a good day from Jay from Australia. So yeah, with that, I'll just leave it as it is. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it puts you on the right side of the trades. And yeah, just trade smart, protect your capital, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.